we'll be watching here this morning. And pod number 1, Ailey, it is stacked.
Woo! This pod is a banger. I mean, if we could have requested a pod, I don't know if we get too much better than this. We have 4 absolutely incredible players here. Ken Yukuhiro, who we're going to be following along. We got Luis Salvato, we got Sean Goddard, and we have former world champion Jean-Emmanuel Depras in draft pod number 1. In draft pod number 2, we got Hall of Famer Shota Yasaoka here in this pod. We'll be very keen to see how he does. We also have Anthony Lee and Kenta Harana in this draft pod. And in our 3rd draft pod that we're going to be following along with, we got Sam Pardee, Yuchen Liu, and Lucas Ducaux, who we're going to be keeping our eyes on in this draft section.
There's a look at our top 3 draft pods we'll be following this morning. Let's take a peek at the players arriving for draft here in the feature match area under the lights. This is the big moment when the Pro Tour really gets underway. There's Luis Salvato leading the way. By the way, a modern Pro Tour champion, PS, with lantern control.
Ew.
Don't want to remember that deck, but he knows the format, and there is Ken Yukuhiro walking on in this morning in his pajama pants. He's comfy, ready for the draft, and we'll be following Ken Yukuhiro's draft this morning as our reigning Pro Tour champion. Take a look at Ken Yukuhiro here. Started playing the game in 2007. Season goal this season was to make a top 8. Check mark, took the whole thing down. Played in the first Modern Pro Tour as well, Pro Tour Philly in 2011, and he's here this weekend once again. Well, there's a look at the players. Let's take a look at our broadcast team who will be joining us here this weekend, giving you all the action from the feature match area. Not just us, of course. A big welcome to Carmen Comparens, who will be in the booth this weekend. Marshall Sutcliffe will also be here alongside Paul Cheon, and Cedric Phillips alongside Riley Knight. All right, it's time to get underway with draft this morning. I am so very excited. Marshall and Paul are going to take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Welcome to the booth here at Pro Tour Edge of Eternities. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. And of course, this is the best time of the weekend. This is where the tension is in the room. This is where everybody's seated and ready to do a booster draft. Paul, we're going to be doing Edge of Eternities booster draft here for this tournament, which is kind of interesting because normally the players are under a very compressed time schedule from when the set comes out, gets in their hands, and when they're actually opening them here at the Pro Tour. It's like 10, 12 days. We've had Edge of Eternities for a couple of months.
Yeah, so it's a completely different approach to the format because at this point, everybody knows what all the good cards are. Everybody's experimented with all the rares. They know what's good. So what's really important now is to be able to basically draft everything and play your seed properly because this is probably one of the most balanced formats we've seen where every color combination is viable.
Stacked pod 1 here. These are randomized, Paul. So this is, we usually like to follow our prior champion. We've got Ken Yukuhiro. You can see him in the upper right part of your screen. But boy, did he got a pod surrounded by Luis Salvato and Sean Goddard, as well as Jean-Emmanuel Depras, really another standout player in this stacked pod.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this might just be one of the best pods in the entire Pro Tour. Just tons of success at the table. And honestly, for booster draft, you actually do want to be seated next to very experienced drafters because you know what? The important thing, one of the most important things in draft is, of course, being able to read signals. And when you've drafted and played Magic for as long as these guys, like, it's just going to be a much smoother draft process, right?
That's right. Yeah, really interesting because the burden is quite high on these players. Edge of Eternities is a very flat format in terms of the best to the worst archetypes. And what that means is that you kind of need to be able to draft all the color pairs efficiently and well because you need to be able to play to your seat. Sometimes, when it's early in a format, you can kind of zero in on a few archetypes and grab on for the ride. It's not ideal, but it's a do what you got to do, but not in this set.
Yeah, I mean, this format is really interesting in that sense because I feel like there was actually a really nice evolution where in the beginning, I think the blue-green ramp lander deck was really popular, really coveted. Everybody wanted to do that. But I think as the formats evolved, White's been winning a lot more. And now just like honestly, almost every single color combination is very viable. Personally, I've been winning a lot more drafting the more aggressive white decks.
Oh, interesting.
Ready?
Let's see what Ken thinks about the format here. This is pack one, pick one of the Pro Tour, and we are underway. I saw a banishing light at the front there, Paul.
There's a Cryogen Relic, though, which I think most consider to be the best common in the entire format, which is quite strong. There's a Sunstar Expansionist.
Oh, and a Requiem Monolith at rare. Interesting.
Yeah, Requiem Monolith is a very powerful card. And I've definitely lost my fair share of games to the card, but it does have a little bit more of a build around, whereas when you take something like Cryogen Relic, you're always getting value, and I'm never upset about having too many Cryogen Relics in my deck.
Yeah, this is an interesting pick. Oh, he did. He ended up not taking the Cryogen Relic. It is... Cryogen Relic has such a high floor that you just feel like you can't go wrong with it. But it looks like Ken has other thoughts here. And he's going to go for the Requiem Monolith, perhaps the higher upside, but also lower downside card.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there are certain color combinations where you're going to just have a deck with a bunch of 1-toughness creatures. And generally with Requiem Monolith, you want to be targeting larger creatures that actually survive, so you can use that as a consistent source of card advantage.
It looks like he's pulled Tractor Beam to the front, but there's also a Focus Fire and a Sunstar Lightsmith in this pack, Paul.
Yeah, those are definitely the best options here. I do really like Tractor Beam.
10 seconds.
Oftentimes you look at that card and you're like, well, I steal their thing, but it's tapped. It doesn't do anything. There's plenty of creatures that have just good passive abilities. Imagine stealing a Biomechan Engineer, right? You just still get to use the activated ability. So
totally.
I think
Psionicist, like there's so many good targets.
Yeah, I think there's enough upside here where the Tractor Beam, just all mind control effects historically in Magic have just been really, really strong, and Tractor Beam is no exception.
Pick up.
So a black card into a blue card here for Yukuhiro, and now he looks at, he's pulled Broodguard Elite, Hilderblade to the front.
Yeah, Hilderblade, I don't mind if I'm maybe drafting perhaps a black-red deck or a black-white deck, slightly more proactive decks. If I end up in blue-black, it's not quite as strong.
10 seconds.
There's a diplomatic relations in that pack, right? Obviously, you don't want to just lock in.
Hilderblade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow, I wonder if that's like a pet card for Ken.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a deck with a lot of warp,
please shuffle and pass.
and
11 cards
maybe lots
to
of
your
ways
left.
to sacrifice creatures, certainly you can build around this and put something together. It is a very early Hilderblade, but perhaps this is a strategy that Ken is very familiar with and something that's been working for him.
All right, let's see what he picks up next here. Is he going to solidify himself into a color?
So
there's the Faller, there's Starbreach Whale.
Yeah,
Embrace Oblivion.
Yeah, I mean, Embrace Oblivion makes a lot of sense, especially after you've taken Hilderblade, right? That lets you trigger Void. Also, it works well with Tractor Beam, right? If you steal something small or something without an ability, you still have something in place to use the Embrace Oblivion.
But he did not take it. He actually took the Starbreach Whale here, so equal on both colors at this point.
Yeah, Starbreach Whale does also work with the Hilderblade in the sense that it's a warp card. It's not a card that I take too highly, just because it's just an okay effect. But you know, with the Hilderblade, perhaps, and maybe Ken just really likes drafting these blue-black control decks.
10 seconds.
Yeah, he's got an Ilvoy Infiltrator pulled to the front. There is a Divert Disaster in his colors here too. I like the Infiltrator. Like, it's a card you can build around a little bit, and it does change the board state pretty significantly when it comes out. You know, your opponent definitely has to consider using a removal spell on it.
Yeah, I like it a lot more when I'm blue-white.
Pick up.
Yes.
The blue-white deck cares about casting multiple spells. It's a lot easier to trigger and make it unblockable. If you end up in blue-black, it's a little bit more difficult just because you tend to lean more towards a control deck.
Here's a Divert Disaster and an Unravel, so 2 counter spells in this.
Yeah, and I actually kind of prefer the Divert Disaster just because it's a 2-mana card for the most part.
Please shuffle
he took Dockworker Drone.
To your left.
Okay. That is
a turn.
That is interesting. So this tells me a couple of things.
Interesting.
Ken might not value the counterspells as much, where when you play against a pod with a bunch of good players, oftentimes they'll play around that type of effect, especially if they know you have it.
10
also,
seconds.
we did see a Focus Fire in the last pack, so perhaps Ken thinking maybe this is a signal that White's open.
Wow, he just passed an Uthro Scanship there for a flight deck coordinator, so I guess he's just dipping into White hard.
Yeah, and the Scanship is a good card.
7 cards to your left.
And we've seen him take some of the blue cards, so that's also really, really interesting. But, you know, if you want to make the Infiltrator work, obviously blue-white is the ideal color combination, so perhaps Ken looking to go down that path. But now the best card in the pack here is a Hull Carver, so perhaps you go back there and maybe you keep yourself available in the Esper color combinations and just see what's
Draft.
coming your
Please
direction.
shuffle and pass 6 cards to your left.
Yeah, I guess the counter spell's probably worse if you're trying to do the
Pick up.
cast 2 spells in a turn thing, and also if you're trying to do like the infiltrator plan.
5 seconds.
All right.
Okay, well, there's another black card. So Hull Carver into Lightless Evangel. So
Draft.
perhaps
shuffle
we
and
see
pass
Ken
5 cards to
veering
your
back
left.
over to his original game plan.
Yeah, black seems like
Pick
a
up.
color that seems to be open. Also note that there was a Mechanizo in that pack. So if perhaps
5
the
seconds.
artifact deck is also available. So that's just something that you have to keep in mind even when you take a black card.
He took the Hymn of the Father
Draft.
here. So let's just take a quick second here to kind of figure out where he's going, because with those 2 black cards out of the last picks, it does feel like he's starting to solidify himself into at least black, if not black-blue.
Yeah, I think definitely, especially when you saw some of those cards table, if you look, he tabled 2 black cards that are both playable cards. So that tells me that at least black is somewhat open. Maybe there's one other black drafter at the table. He took a couple of speculative picks in white, thinking maybe that goes well with some of the blue cards that I have. But right now, everything's kind of up in the air. We only have 3 blue cards. We have 2 white cards. One thing is certain, though. I think Ken really wants to plant his flag in being black and trying to still figure out whether he's going to be black-white or black-blue. But that's what we're going to find out in future packs.
That's right. Let's take a look at maybe some of the cards that he might be able to pick up if he does end up staying in blue-black. And these are just some of the most powerful commons. Graph Pack Monoist, Virus Beetle, and Cryogen Relic also all have the same type line of you're pretty okay sacrificing those and getting your Void going, that type of stuff.
Yeah, just really solid options for your mana curve. There's just no number of Virus Beetles that you're going to be unhappy playing. It just works so well, especially because it's also an artifact. And then, of course, if you do want to end up in blue-black, Cryogen Relic being the best common in the format, that's something that you want to open.
Here's some bangers here, too. Look at this. Dubious Delicacy, Code Cracker Hound. Paul, number of times you or I have passed a Code Cracker Hound in draft? Very low.
I mean, I think it's the best. It's my favorite uncommon in the set.
Mythic uncommon?
Yeah, Dubious Delicacy might actually slightly outperform it, but Code Cracker, I just don't pass that card unless there is one of the 5 best rares in the format that I can take over.
That's a good dog. And then Fell Graveship as well. And then if we want to let our imaginations run a little wild here, Paul, why not, right? Let's get a Quantum Riddler, an Elegy Acolyte, maybe a Sunset Saboteur to go with the Hilderblade Aggression.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 cards, I'll definitely take over the Code Cracker Hound. Quantum Riddler, absolutely amazing. So good that we're actually going to see it in the modern decks later. But yes, these are the best 2 cards in the format to open, and Ken Yukuhiro would be very happy to open one of these.
All right, let's head back down to the draft here, and we'll get a chance now to actually see exactly what Ken does, particularly if he stays in this blue-black color pair or if he veers off of that. As we wind down
Please
pack
shuffle
number
and
1
pass
here,
4
you can see the
cards to
picks
your
there
left.
on the left.
Pick
Again,
up.
he had a little foray into white, but it doesn't seem to be super open here. Not much a Mech and Shield
Draft.
mate to
Please shuffle and pass 3
finish
cards
up.
to your left.
Yeah, so heading into pack 2,
Pick up.
which it's, you obviously can't really read signals going into pack number 2, right? Because you're the one feeding the person that you're passing to.
Draft.
I think
Please
for
shuffle
Ken,
and pass
if he
2
has a
cards to your
close
left.
decision in pack 2, he's just going to take the black
Pick up.
card, right? Because one thing's for certain, you're going to take black. And then, if you get past the bomb that's white,
Draft.
you'll just take it
Please
and then just
shuffle
try
and
to
pass
figure
the
things
last
out.
card to your left. Pick up the last card. You now have 60 seconds to review.
For those of you
your
that haven't
picks.
done a draft of this level, this is what we call a timed draft, so you can hear the judge giving instructions to the players. And one of the big differences between this and an online draft or a Friday draft or whatever is that you can't look at your picks in between the picks that you've already made in between picks at the draft. So, things like, how many artifacts do I have? How many creatures do I have? What does my curve look like? Even, if you're a little forgetful, like, how many blue cards do I have? Like, these are the type of things that these players do not have access to until this review period in between packs. And it is a skill that you have to develop. It actually comes pretty quickly, I think, for most of these players. But if you're not used to it, you're used to knowing everything about what you've got. I mean, you
10
can
seconds.
online, you can put them in the curve order that you have, so you're just sort of filling in the blanks. But, you know, at a draft like this, it's not uncommon to get to the end and go, oh, no.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, you know.
It's really important,
Review
especially
time
after
is
pack
finished.
2, you
Please
really
put
get to
back your
see
cards
what
in
the
a
holes
single
are in your
pile in
deck.
front of you.
Do I need more interaction? What's my artifact count? What's
Please
my mana
proceed
curve?
opening
Those are things
pack
that you all
label
have to
1B.
consider during the draft, and especially between packs, where, you know,
Count
you can
face
take the
down
weaker
14
card, but the
cards.
card that's more important to have into your deck. And if you forget,
Make
that can be a
sure
big problem.
no
It can be
cards
big.
have
Mana
significant
curve,
marks.
you know, paying attention to certain types of cards that, you know, there's a lot, like in this set, artifacts matter.
Yep.
Right? There's certain cards that pay you off for having a bunch of artifacts, and you really want to know, how many do I have in my deck?
This time we will pass
Yeah, if you
cards
take a
to
look
the
at Ken's
right.
deck, right now the artifact
ready?
count isn't especially
Pick
high.
up.
And blue-black is kind of known to be that artifact color pair, one of them at least.
Let's take a look at pack 2, pick 1 here for Ken Yukuhiro. He's got Orbital Plunge, another Embrace Oblivion.
There's a Gigastorm Titan.
Gigastorm Titan, I like that one.
Yeah, that's certainly a very, very strong one. Specimen Freighter, just okay.
Yeah.
Just okay. And here's the thing, right? I talked about this before. I think he's just going to lean towards the black card. I think if you did end up specifically in blue-black, Gigastorm Titan is probably the
10
stronger
seconds.
card. But given that Ken doesn't exactly know what his second color is, I think he's leaning blue. I wouldn't blame him for just taking the Embrace Oblivion here, because you know it's going to make your deck 100% of the
Draft.
time.
Definitely.
Please
Second
shuffle
Embrace
and pass
Oblivion, especially when you have the
13
Tractor
cards
Beam,
to your
is
right.
in.
Right.
Third one, they start to fall off.
Yeah, you're
Pick
going
up.
to need a lot more Virus Beetles and Cryogen Relics.
Right. Let's see if he can pick up those here. Ilvoy Operative, and there's also an Ilvoy Infiltrator. Okay.
Yeah, and the Infiltrator...
That would be the second one of those if he takes it.
Right, and Infiltrator certainly has higher upside here. And when you pick up the second copy now, you kind of have some direction, right?
Definitely.
Because normally the blue-black decks that people draft are more controlling, curve might be a little bit higher. It's kind of
10
hard to trigger
seconds.
the Infiltrator. But when you have the two, that kind of shapes how you draft the rest of the draft moving forward, because you want to lean toward taking cheaper things to really turn this on.
Yeah, he'll be happy
Draft.
with that Embrace
Please
Oblivion
shuffle
pick
and
now that
pass
he's picked up the
12
second
cards
Ilvoy
to your right.
Infiltrator. Not only is it a card that you can use to double spell because it's so cheap, but also it gets blockers out of the way.
Pick
and
up.
you can do it the good old-fashioned way where you don't have to have unblockable to make the Ilvoy Operator go.
Yeah, so there's an Ilvoy Operative, there's a Mechanizoa, which is an okay top-end option if you need something in the blue-black artifacts deck. But see,
Maybe
we see,
wheel it.
Yeah, maybe wheel it, but we do see Ken taking the Operative here. So kind of leaning into a good curve, a double spell
10
deck. Perhaps
seconds.
we might even see maybe more of a blue-black tempo deck.
Yeah, that's
given
what it
he's
feels like.
drafting.
Yeah, this is interesting because there are, within the archetypes, this is another thing that, you know, when you get
Draft.
to the depth of a format
Please
like
shuffle
this,
and pass
and
11
you've gotten a
cards
chance
to
to
your
play
right.
with it as much as we have, you will find little sub-archetypes. If I asked you what blue-black was, you would probably say
Pick
like
up.
a controlling artifacts thing.
Right.
But there is this little shade of sniping the cards that care about casting 2 spells
Right.
and using cheap stuff to keep those rolling. Is a third Embrace Oblivion on the menu? I guess
10
I
seconds.
mentioned that it goes down in value pretty sharply, but it doesn't look like he has much to pick.
Yeah, there's
over.
nothing else really for him here, which does tell me that Sean is likely in one of Ken's colors.
Draft.
Remember, Ken did pass
Please
him a
shuffle and pass
Cryogen Relic,
10
and I
cards to
imagine
your right.
Sean took the Cryogen Relic, so we might not be seeing a ton of blue from the other direction, at least
Pick
in
up.
pack 2.
And Ken would just kill for some. There we go
Okay.
for that. For Cryogen Relic or Virus Beetle.
Oh, Virus Beetle is perfect. Ken would
Perfect
take
for his
2
set.
more of those if he had the
Definitely.
ability, so very happy to pick that up. Uthro Scanship, totally fine card, but Virus Beetle
10
so
seconds.
perfect for what Ken has so far.
Yeah, he will be taking as many of those as they offer.
Draft.
Those
Please
cheap
shuffle
2-for-1
and pass
artifacts
9 cards to your right.
that he can sacrifice to Embrace Oblivion, which he now has 3 copies of, are going to be critical
Pick
Yeah.
up.
for Ken.
Okay.
Oh, that's a nice one there,
Ooh, So
too.
blue might actually be
Perigi
open here.
Beckoner.
So there's Perigi Beckoner
Oh, and
and
it's
Uthro
a-
Cyanosis, which is
Wow.
also
10
a very
seconds.
strong card. You're trying to double spell, but with all the Embrace Oblivions, I could see the argument to taking the Beckoner here.
He does. It's really good
Draft.
with a lot of the cards he
Please
has.
Right.
shuffle
The
and
warp
pass
cost is
8
only
cards
2,
to
so it
your
allows
right.
you to double spell. It unlocks attacks that you don't normally have, like with your
Pick up.
operatives and your infiltrators and stuff.
Ooh,
that's a
that's-
nice pickup there for Ken. And I mean, It's hard for me to pass a Psionicist. I really like that card, but
10
that was the right
seconds.
one there.
Absolutely.
Ooh, Desculpting Blast. Another good card for his deck.
Another good card here, and this tells me that blue is actually somewhat open. It seems getting a Desculpting Blast this late into the packs means that there's probably just one other blue drafter at the table here. So Ken's pack 2 certainly
Pick up.
going pretty well here, especially with the Desculpting Blast and the Perigee Beckoner relatively late.
10
What is this
seconds.
here? Pinnacle Emissary. That is not really the name of the game for him.
Yeah, I think maybe you can just take a Comet Crawler here because you're just not going to play the Pinnacle
Draft.
Emissary, but
Please
wow.
shuffle and pass.
Emissary
Six
is just
cards to your
you're
right.
not you can't put that in your deck if you can only warp it, right? So
Pick up.
unless somehow you get really good mana, maybe that was a defensive draft, right? But Comet Crawler, it's not
5
great,
seconds.
but you can still put it into your deck.
Yeah. Here's an Ilvoy Galeblade. There's also that
Draft.
Specimen Freighter, but
Please shuffle
the
and pass
Galeblade being
5
so
cards
cheap, you know,
to your
we
right.
could see some main phase Galeblading here to get
Pick
the
up.
double spell triggered.
Yeah, especially with the double Infiltrator.
And he picked up
5
another operative
seconds.
too. So
Right.
2 operative, 2 infiltrator.
So yeah, the Galeblade's definitely making the deck here
Draft.
so far.
Please shuffle and pass 4 cards
Ken
to
would
your right.
love to see one more
Pick up.
good payoff for double spells because he's really committed to it. He picks up an annul fairly
Draft.
late here.
Please shuffle and
Yeah.
pass
And at
3
this point-
cards to your right.
There is no white card. There are no white cards.
Pick
Ken
up.
is
Yeah.
100% locked into blue-black here.
This is cool. Like this is a different version
Draft.
of blue black
Please
than we
shuffle and
normally
pass
see.
2
Right.
It
cards
actually
to
makes
your
me
right.
wonder how
Pick up.
locked in Ken is to this archetype because remember going all the way back to the Hilderblade pick?
Right.
Like he seemed to like
Draft.
that
Please pass
vibe.
your last
Yeah,
card.
he's not interested in taking Pinnacle kill ships or
Pick up
anything
the last card.
expensive. Just keep the curve
You now have
low,
90 seconds
plenty
to
of
review
interaction,
your picks.
and just beat people down that way.
This deck is cool.
Yeah, I mean, no exciting rares or anything like that, but it's just a solid, well-constructed build. Like, the cards work together, and this is not a typical build of Dimir that you see. It doesn't have a million artifacts. It's not super controlling, but it's got a good curve, and it's got good ways to just get blockers out of the way. And we can see the infiltrators just kind of take over the game.
Yeah, that to me is the most important card that he has is his 2 copies of Ilvoy Infiltrator. I feel, I mean, it would put it over the top if he could get another.
Right.
You know, because he's just so well set up to keep the way clear and or to double spell somewhat frequently. And if you can get that train rolling, that Infiltrator just keeps it so that you can keep, you know, it feeds into itself.
Right. Absolutely.
The downside to strategies like that is if they just say, kill it,
Yep.
which they do. It's a card that people respect on the battlefield. You don't want to let your opponent go nuts with that type of thing. Then sometimes you look at your hand, and it's like Ilvoy Galeblade and an Embrace Oblivion, and you're not pressuring your opponent at all as
10
they're
seconds.
like cracking landers and starting to build up towards really, really big stuff. That's the fragility of a archetype like this. But if you can get the pieces in place, it's
Review time
really
is finished.
strong.
Please
Yeah,
put
I mean,
back your cards in
Ken
a single
certainly
face-down
has
pile in front of you.
the
Let's
luxury of
proceed
picking up
opening
1 or 2
pack
expensive
labeled
cards if he
1C.
sees it, right? If you do see kind of a late
Please
Mechanizoa
count face down
or something, you know,
14
maybe even a
cards.
spacecraft,
Make
like he does
sure
have the
no
ability to pick one of those
significant
up,
marks
just to make sure he has
on
other
the back
ways
of
to
the
win
cards.
the game outside of those 3 drops.
Yeah, any of the cares about casting 2 spells, payoffs would be good for him here.
This time we
Of
will
course,
be passing.
raw power is always welcome.
I'll still take an Elegy Acolyte, so.
Yeah,
It's probably the card I've lost to the most in
Right.
this format. I mean, there's a lot of really good bombs, but that one is public enemy #1 for me.
that card is an absolute thrashing.
Yeah.
It is so
If you
brutal.
don't kill it, the game is over.
Yes. And you need it. You need that removal now.
Right away.
Like now. Sorcery speed need not apply. By the time it gets back to you, they already have a 2/2, an extra card.
It's ridiculous.
Looks like John Emanuel called the judge over just to double check.
Okay.
But they always
This
count
time we'll
out the
pass
number of
cards
cards in
to
the
the
pack
left.
beforehand just to make sure
Pick
that
up.
everything's correct. And it looks like John Emanuel was just double checking. There's another Embrace Oblivion. Any payoffs at the back there? Any bombs?
Well, Dauntless Scrap-Pot is just an awesome card. I take this super highly. You're
I don't think
always
I've ever
happy.
passed that.
Yeah, and it's really funny, too, because it's an uncommon, and then you look at something like a Galactic Wafer, you're like, wait, that thing has 2 more toughness. So yeah, I mean, but this card is awesome. It produces a lander. You can use that to either ramp or use the Embrace Oblivion. Just having something in play is really, really nice.
10 seconds.
Just a perfect card to have for Ken's part of the mana curve too.
Yeah, it creates 2 sackable permanents.
Right.
Like, it's right where you want to be. All right, Dauntless
Draft.
Scrapbot.
Please
Factory pick
shuffle
1.
and pass. 13
Unfortunately,
cards to
not
your
one
left.
of those great narrow payoffs that he was looking for, but power level, it's there.
Yeah, just
Good
very,
pick up.
very solid card. You are never cutting Dauntless Scrapbot in any of your decks.
Ooh, there's a Cryo Shatter.
Okay.
That would be nice.
Ooh, there's a Monoist Circuit Feeder.
Oh,
and
that's one of the better black uncommons.
yeah, it's really, really strong. I mean, you
What's
just
his artifact?
you just took a Dauntless Scrapbot.
Yeah,
There's a
that's-
Requiem Monolith. There's a Virus Beetle. There's
Soul
some.
Carver.
But it's also just a really good top-end card to help you close
10
out
seconds.
games. So this is interesting. I think the Circuit Feeder is a more
Ooh.
powerful card,
Ooh.
but Ken has a game plan. It's to double spell. Cryo Shatter is a really nice, cheap,
Draft.
interactive spell.
Please shuffle
So I
and
totally
pass
get why Ken
12
took this card.
cards to your
Ken's
left.
deck, remember, we said it's not a traditional Dimir deck. It doesn't have a ton of artifacts. So that Mono Circuit
up.
Feeder, maybe it's just for 1. And when if it's for 1, it's not that strong.
Cryo Shatter's nice. Okay, now he has options on Grav Kill or Selfcraft Mechan.
I mean, if you're not going to take the Mono Circuit Feeder, I don't think you're taking Selfcraft Mechan, right?
Yeah, and we were hoping that he would pick up a bunch of the Virus Beetle, Cryogen Relic type
10
stuff, but
seconds.
he still only has the 1 Virus Beetle. So maybe just take the solid removal spell.
Yeah, Graph Kill makes sense given kind of what Ken's trying to do with this deck.
This also
Draft.
really does round
Please
out his
shuffle and
removal.
pass
You know, he's
11
got the
cards
3
to your
Embrace
left.
Oblivion. Now he picked up a Cryo Shatter and a Grav Kill. Like, he can kill anything. Like,
And
he
he's
doesn't...
he's got a Tractor
up.
Beam, too.
And a Tractor Beam. So all of his removal kind of doesn't care what it is. It's
Right.
like, I don't care if it's big or whatever.
Okay. Now he's like, all right, now I need a top-end card. Let's just take the Mechanizoa just because I need something to use my mana in the late game.
Yeah, and it's fine on turn 3. You know, again, I
10
keep
seconds.
going back to the Infiltrators, right? If you get one of those on the battlefield, cards like Mechanizoa, cards like Cryo Shatter, like, these make your opponent's life very
Draft.
difficult.
Please shuffle and
Ken's
pass
gonna be
10 cards to your
Hoping
left.
to win a lot of die rolls over the course of the
Definitely.
draft because
Oh,
Infiltrators
yeah.
are so much better when you're on the play.
Pick up.
Wow,
Emmanuel's
yeah.
probably drafting like a 6-color.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
It's got 5 ways to make landers. It's
Yeah,
going to be awesome.
for sure.
All right, so yeah,
What is
okay.
that, a Mechan Navigator?
Mechan Navigator is good. Again, I don't think the
10
Survey Mechan is
seconds.
a consideration here because I don't think Ken has enough fodder. So the Selfcraft Mechan, I think, would be fine. He doesn't have any spacecrafts or any way to tap it, so he would just have to
Yeah.
naturally attack with it. But it
Draft.
is a 2-drop.
Please
and it's a
shuffle
fine
and
2-drop.
pass
Comet
9
Crawler.
cards to your left.
Okay, so this is like the first very surprising pick for me.
Pick up.
I think you want a double spell. You want and you have a lot of removal as well. So the Navigator seems to slot pretty
Ooh.
well. What is
Hello,
going on?
Cryogen Relic hiding at the back of the pack.
Did you see it? There's a
Biomechan
Biomechan
Engineer.
Engineer.
Oh, I saw it,
pick.
Paul. I can sense it when one of those gets open in the room.
You don't have to see it. You
I
just
don't have
feel
to,
it.
I just know it's
You're
there.
like, that is insane. The
Wow.
fact that that is still in
Please
that pack.
shuffle and pass
But
8 cards
Cryogen Relic
to your
for
left.
Ken is awesome. I know that card. It's funny if you haven't played this
Pick
format
up.
much. You might be thinking, why are these guys so excited about Cryogen Relic? Like, there's a lot of these kind of little cantrippy cards that usually don't amount to much. But you're looking at the best common in the whole
10
format.
Oh, yeah.
seconds.
It just works well with everything.
Everything.
Sacrifice effects, artifact synergies. You can pick it up for value. It just does everything that you want.
And
Draft.
especially for
Please
Ken with his
shuffle and
triple
pass
Embrace
7
Oblivion.
cards to your
I
left.
mean, that card is a godsend for him. He is so relieved to see
Pick
it. You
up.
saw also how quickly he picked it.
Wow.
Oh,
and
hey.
Look at this.
Gigastorm
10
Titan
seconds.
as well.
I wonder, yeah, Gigastorm Titan and a Gale Blade, another
Oh.
cheap card for the double spell, but going with
Yeah.
the Titan now.
Let's get that Titan in there. That's a great pickup for him.
The old
Draft.
Dimir double spell
Please
deck.
shuffle and
Yeah,
pass 6
I
cards
love this.
to your left.
Blue-black aggro tempo. And by the way, I was pretty skeptical of that Hilderblade pick way back in pack 1, but it's looking pretty good here.
5
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah, it's certainly looking like it,
Like,
it could.
That is going to
could
increase
make it
his
into the deck.
clock.
Yeah,
He's got a
absolutely.
lot
Draft.
of ways to get Void going
Please
as
shuffle
well.
and pass 5 cards to your
Yeah, no,
left.
this has come together beautifully for Ken. trying to figure out
Pick up.
what lane he needs to be, and then finding just blue just being this wide open here. Lost in space
5
with
seconds.
5 cards left in
Oh,
the pack.
he didn't take it.
Scour for scrap. Well, I mean, you know, we're playing best of 3. Scour
cut
for
it out.
scrap. You
Please
can cut it.
shuffle
Also, you have
and
2
pass.
Cryogen
4
relics. You can board
cards
it in
to
for
your
really
left.
slow matchups where you're like, I'm going to get
Pick
a
up.
Cryogen relic back from my graveyard and search for something.
And we're just winding down
Draft.
pack 3 here.
Please shuffle and pass. 3 cards
Draft
to your
number
left.
1 here from Atlanta. We're with Ken
Pick up.
Yukuhiro, our reigning Pro Tour champion.
Yeah, and just
Draft.
nobody was in
Please
the
shuffle
artifact
and
deck.
pass.
No
2
red or blue
cards
black.
to your
Nope.
left. Pick up.
He picks up a late Steel Swarm operator, but
Probably not making it in.
no, same
Draft.
with the
Please pass 1
Cryologist.
cards to your left and pick your last card.
I really like this deck from
Fantastic.
Ken. He has
At this
answers
moment,
for everything.
please double check that
I
all
think
your
if
cards
there's a weakness
are
to it, maybe the middle ground worth of creatures. Like, let's say his first real threat gets killed. He may have a little bit of a problem getting the next thing going.
Yeah.
But I mean, no deck is perfect. Like that's
No.
not a knock on the deck. It's just a reality of this archetype.
Yeah, and for a Pro Tour draft, right, this is
Oh,
just
yeah.
a
We will
really
bring
solid
the
deck. When
lists.
you're happy
We will
with
give
the
you the
23
list.
cards
We will
in your deck,
move you
in
to
a Pro
the
Tour draft with 3 other
bots to construct.
well-established
What
pros
will
at
happen
your
is
table,
we'll give you the
you're going to be
numbers,
very, very
you will
happy. Now,
see
Ken Yukuhiro doesn't
We'll start
have the
registering
crazy rare
your deck on
bombs
the
that you
list.
can pick up in the
Once
format,
you
so
have
that's the
finished
thing where...
registering
But Ken
the
does
deck,
have the
so only
answer.
the
He has the
full,
answer.
Right, so if you
Please
do
call for a
play
judge.
an Ouroboros
We will
or you
take
play
your
a Nova
list
Hellkite
and
or
make
something,
some copies
Ken
of
just
it.
going to go Embrace Oblivion,
Meanwhile,
Cryo
you
Shatter.
can
He's got the
continue
answers while having lots of ways to draw cards, a beautiful mana curve. He's got all the tools. If he plays his cards right, and he usually does, I could see this deck going 3-0.
Yeah, this is also stylistically a type of deck I could see him being very good with.
Right.
Mapping out the next turn or two and having answers. That's the key. Let's take a look at what Ken Yukuhiro submitted here. The Carver, the Operatives, of course.
16 lands, all right.
There's the Infiltrators.
There's a
16
Requiem
lands.
Monolith.
I mean, his curve is really low because even if you look at the top end, like all of his 5s can be cast for 2 mana.
Right,
All of
I mean,
them.
the thing is, yeah,
the McKenna Zoa can be 3.
as long as you have a 2-land or 2, you have to think Cryogen Relic and the double Starbreach Whales will help smooth out your land drops just to get to mana number 3, right?
Yeah.
And then you're set.
I mean, seriously, like if you look at his curve on optionality-wise, he actually stops at 4.
Right,
Like
sure.
all of those cards above 4 can be cast for cheaper, either 2 or 3 mana from McKenna Zoa. Yeah, and then let's not forget the Requiem Monolith down there as a potential card advantage engine as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, this deck is really cool and a neat little sub-archetype that he's found there. We're going to take a short break here from Atlanta. When we come back, we'll be getting into round number 1. Don't go anywhere.